Hi there, welcome back to Spring Into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we'll be talking about part 2 of adding integers. Today we're going to be looking at how to add integers using absolute value. Okay, so remember the absolute value is the distance that a number is from 0 on a number line. So if you look at the slide, you can see that. With absolute 0, the signs make absolutely no difference. It just has to do with how far away that number is from 0 on a number line. So today we're going to be looking at how to add integers with the same sign and how to add integers with different signs. Okay, so adding integers with the same sign is actually not really that complicated. When we're adding a positive number to a positive number, if you want to use the absolute value technique, the first thing that you need to do is find the absolute value. So let's say that we have a positive 4 plus a positive 6. The first thing we need to do is find the absolute value. So we have our absolute value lines here. The absolute value of 4 plus 6 is 10. The second thing you have to do is simply use the same sign that you had before you found the absolute value. Well, in the original problem, 4 plus 6, we had two positive numbers, so the answer is also going to be positive. Similarly, when we add two negative numbers, you have a negative 4 in this particular question, plus a negative 4. The first thing we're going to do is find the absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, and the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, which gives us 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. But importantly, we need to remember the value before we found the absolute value, which both of these numbers were negative. Therefore, our answer is going to be negative. So we have to be sure we add a negative sign to that 10. Okay. Maybe the most confusing or complicated way of adding integers comes when you have two integers that have different signs. But relax, it doesn't have to be scary or difficult. You just have to follow the steps and remember that you follow 3 simple steps when you want to add integers with different signs. So the first thing you need to do, let's take a look at our problem here. The problem we have is negative 13 plus positive 12. Okay, look at step number 1. If we're using the absolute value technique, the first thing we want to do is find the absolute value of negative 13 and 12. That would be 13 and 12. Simple enough. How far away are they from 0? The next step is subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater. And you're saying, yeah, but I thought we were adding integers. Well, this is the trick. If you subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater, it's going to make adding integers with different signs so much easier. So all you have to do is say, okay, well, 13 has a greater absolute value, clearly. 13 minus 12 equals 1. And then step 3 is just to give the answer, which was 1, 13 minus 12 is 1, the same sign, and I'll highlight it here on the slide, as the integer, the larger integer. In this case, it was negative 13. So our answer has to be a negative as well. So using absolute value, basically you need to find the absolute value, subtract the number with the smaller absolute value from the greater absolute value, and then give your answer the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. Okay, one more thing I wanted to add into this lesson is I think it's really important that we talk about the associative property, because the associative property is going to help us when we're grouping numbers, when we start adding on to equations and expressions. This is going to help you immensely. And if you come into a situation where you have to add 3 or more integers, it might get a little confusing. So knowing the associative property can really help. And let me show you what I mean by that. if we have 7 plus 2 plus negative 10, it would be a really good idea, as I'm highlighting here, to put brackets around 7 plus 2. Then we could just simply move that into 9, and now we only have to add two integers, 9 plus negative 10, rather than get all confused with positive and negative integers and adding all these different numbers. Use the brackets, use the associative property, because then you get to a point where you have 9 plus negative 10 equals negative 1. Pretty simple. Okay, why don't you take a minute and practice? Remember, you want to use the associative property. Remember to use your brackets, and also remember to use the absolute value technique. Good luck. All right, welcome back. How'd you do? Okay, did you use the associative property? Did you use your brackets? Did you remember to use the absolute value? Hopefully you came up with the first problem, the answer of negative 2. Put the brackets around negative 4 and positive 7 to give you 3. And 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. How about the next one? Negative 9 plus negative 12 should give you negative 21. Negative 21 plus 8 gives you negative 13. And negative 12 plus 29 is 17 plus negative 18, and your final answer is negative 1. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for adding integers using absolute value. Join us next time when we'll be talking about evaluating variable expressions involving integer addition. Have a great day.